It's at Love Clark. I want to explain something real quick and try to make it quick. When people see me making videos, doing the, monitoring the water testing that this water company is doing here, there's a number of reasons why, and people wonder what is the obsession with it. Well, it wouldn't be so bad if we hadn't come from a community called Hinckley that's famous in a movie, true story called Erin Brockovich, starring Julia Roberts, and it's the biggest lawsuit in recorded American history, and I still think it is. And there's still some lawsuits going on and open cases going on, and that's the reason why we had to relocate to this side of the desert, this side of the Barstow area, because of the poisoned water, okay? There was water poisoning. PG&E dumped dumped hexavalent chromium-6 into the ground without putting layering the ground to where it would not go into our ground source aquifers, because everyone runs on well water. So that's what that's about. So if you're interested in what, I'll talk more about it, and I think I've talked about it on another video, but I don't like to talk too much about it, okay? But that is the reason why. So if you, and because PG&E was doing this before we left, they're doing this, when they're doing frequent water testing, you might say, well, what are you worried about? Isn't that good? You should be glad that they're trying to make sure you're safe and staying on top of that. Well, overall, you would think that's the case, but usually not, because they don't want to pay for water testing that frequent. And so actually, usually the case is when you've seen them test the water that frequently, that's because they keep seeing something wrong with it, not because something's good with it, okay? That's why I have this obsession. People think I have an obsession with the recording the water testing. That's the reason why. And not that and this isn't PG&E company, but the point is, when you came from the situations and you've seen the crookedness of companies and what we went through in Hinckley, okay, go watch your movie Erin Brockovich. That's only part of the story. It's actually a good movie, even though it's a true story and stuff like that. It's actually a good movie. It actually is a good movie. It's not boring. It's good if you like true stories. So I recommend to watch the movie, and you'll see part of, basically what happened to this people I've been telling you I'm related to, my in-laws, the Sandos. That's why the oldest house in Hinckley had to be destroyed because of PG&E. Okay, my family, my in-laws had it. My wife's grandma, okay, lived in that house, the oldest house in Hinckley, and it had to be destroyed because PG&E, they had to sell out their property. So all their family lived on one big piece of property, and it was supposed to be handed down from generation to generation. And they homesteaded, and they were very close. They all had different houses, but they were on the big same piece of land. Now they're all broken up, and those are the Sandos. I said Marie Sandos' descendant relatives. Okay, that's who they are. They ended up homesteading out to California, and that branch of the family homesteaded there in Hinckley, and that was supposed to be their inheritance, and my children's inheritance, and their children's inheritance. And they're supposed to grow up together. A close-knit family was destroyed. So not just health, not just our family's health, but our families in general. The health of the family unit, had been completely destroyed because the people had never thought they would ever have to leave the property that their parents and grandparents worked hard to, have for them, that they homesteaded, did all the things to make it livable, and they, it's a sad situation, for people that are like that. They have to move away, and so basically my mother-in-law, sister, and brother both lived on the same land, You know, she could walk to her sister's house or her brother's house, you know. And it was a big mess. And it's a horrible, you know, they lose out on their heritage. Maybe I'll share some of the videos of the old house. But you know, that is a problem, that is an issue. So when you come from those kind of situations, you might think it's paranoia, but what you call paranoia, we're calling documentation and staying safe and keeping documentation. Because if we get sick, or anyone on this street or in Yermo gets sick, you have some documentation that they repeatedly tested the water and it looked very obvious that the repeat test, yes, you look like you're being responsible, but why didn't you tell people? Why aren't they making an alert? If there's something wrong with these repeated tests like that, doesn't make you feel good when you know how they run it. I know from personal experience how they run this stuff, okay, and I know about hexavalent chromium, and I know it has spread out this way before, okay, on this side of the desert, and I know that the water company, whatever the problem was in this Yermo community, the water company was so retarded, or the community, whatever the problem was retarded. They could not handle the water company. I don't know what the issue was. You know, I don't think it's the people in general. I just think the water it just got in the wrong hands, and it's just the community. It's just a couple bad seeds. Anyway, the point is a new water company from out of town had to come in and start managing our water supply here. Well, so that made our bills go up here, and that made them put this test well right outside that you see me recording out here. And that test well, so they can have a cap on the water, and they can open it, and they can test it any time, and which is a good thing. You would say, yes, that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing because of the fact that they had to probably make the test well because they're suspicious that the water that there's problems with the water. They don't do these test well things. It's money, okay? These greedy companies don't want to spend any money. The least they want amount they have to, okay? So having the employee come test this well every day and having put a test well out here, it's because they are suspicious, because they don't want to. It's one reason, because they do want us to be healthy, only because they don't want to be in trouble. But the frequency at which they're being tested, you would think, oh well, that you should feel safe. No, but it doesn't. It's the opposite. It's actually probably the opposite of that. So, if you want to know more about my background, or about that history of what happened in Hinckley, I suggest you can look it up, different stories. There's probably lots of horror stories on YouTube. Real people from that community. The whole community is basically destroyed now because of this. There was 300, and the last thing they did was there was about 300 or 400 people, they said, had an option to sell their properties because of the water damage, and out of three or 400, I think over 200 people sold out. So the communities, there was a school, there was a little store and post office, all that's gone now. Now they're paving over it. They're covering up that their town ever existed. And they said 150 to 250 years before the problem's actually really clean, naturally, a natural clean over time, the earth has a way of working out problems, but 250 years is too long for people to wait around and die. It causes tumors, it causes cancer, it increases cancer, all types of cancer. The people that we lived on with the property, one person got cancer, died, my father-in-law. My sister, my aunt, the other in-law, basically my mother-in-law Jenny's, her brother, that I told you she has a brother on the same property. His wife died 6 months apart from my father-in-law. Okay, at their house they had lots of dogs that died, and they had the dogs, and the dog was checked by the veterinarian, and the veterinarian opened the dogs up, and guess what? Lo and behold, full of tumors, which is a part of being exposed to hexavalent chromium 6 at that level. Why it's called 6 is because there's different levels that it's toxicity, and 6 is the highest toxicity level that's acceptable. That is when it's basically, you don't ever want to have it. Level 3 is, I think, is okay. So it's a little bit normal, but just for on the safe side, they want it down. They should want it to 1 or 0, really. But hexavalent, now chromium is something that naturally does occur, and there's been arguments from it does occur in the naturally occurring ground source water. So there is really chromium that occurs in the ground, chromium 6, but it doesn't, at that level, it's not very often that you're going to find it at that concentrated level, chromium 6 level. No, you're not going to usually find that in natural settings in the water. People don't understand. Deserts run from well water, usually underground water sources and such things. Okay, like in the Bible days, that's why people fought over wells in the desert, and it was a big deal to mark their well and to guard their wells and to keep their wells, because the water did not just flow out of nowhere. They had to dig for it in those places. Just like out here, they had to dig for it. They have the Mojave River that flows underground here, and it's the only other river in the world that flows the opposite from south to north. So very strange. We got these. So if you came from this kind of background area, okay, you would be a little more inclined to being paranoid about the water. Stupid flies. The water and documenting them testing it. Okay, so people have to understand the reason why. It's not just paranoia for no reason. There is a reason for it. I'm not just putting on my tinfoil hat that I usually have on, with my with all my conspiracy theories. No, this is not a conspiracy theorist. This is not something I'm looking at, making my this is a personal thing, and this is something that I've experienced in the past, so I know, what I'm looking at. I know I have experience in this area, so it's not like, something that I'm trying to debate over. Yeah, I know, these are things that I do know. So it's not that, you're just a paranoid. They think, well, he's just paranoid, because if they don't know the background, then they think, oh, he's just paranoid about the water. He thinks everyone's out to get him for no reason. May be the case, but there's a reason behind it. So, and that really isn't the case. I have a reason. It's not just being paranoid for no reason, just thinking, they're done something to our water. No. You have to know my background, and you have to know what area, that we came from, and what happened to those people in that community, and then you would know why we know that we don't like seeing the frequent water tests, because we know frequent water test and continued frequent water test means, continued testing means, no, they're not trying to make sure that you're safe all the time. It's because they are not sure, and they are not very confident in the water and its safety level, because water safety levels can fluctuate from underground sources if there's a contamination. So it can fluctuate at different times. How contaminated it could be, it can fluctuate different periods, right? So we know that. So it's not that they want to, we should feel safe because they test daily. No, we should to a certain degree, but no, not everybody. They don't test your water like that if they think that the water is good, or if they think that, they're not doing that for our safety's sake. See what I mean? Okay? They're doing this because there's something wrong with the water. That's my guess. That would be the best clue. or it's because they put in this new water system, they keep testing it. Why are they, do you think they would have been done with their test and then back off from all the testing? But when they continue to find problems or reoccurrences and problems with the water, it's the same thing that happened with the PG&E testing. They keep repeating the testing because they are finding evidence that it's not clean or clear. Whatever their problem is, it's not fixed. So that is the answer to why people think I'm paranoid or whatnot of water and water testing. It's because the background that we come from. You know, if you've gone through this, then you would be a skeptic and you would be paranoid. But there is reason in this paranoia, not just out of nowhere, out of thin air. You know, it'd be different if I had moved here and as a conspiracy theorist and I had a tinfoil hat on, and I just came here and they started testing my water, and I had no previous understanding and background in water testing. That would be a different case. Then I'd be, you know, paranoid without no reason. Then you'd say, wow, he's really paranoid. But I have a reason. That's the difference. So I could understand people thinking that I'm just paranoid with no reason, but I do have a reason, and it's not just mental illness or people calling me crackhead. I'm tired of that. That is so stupid. I wouldn't even know where to get crack. Okay, I wouldn't even know the people to go to find the crack. Probably a black neighborhood. I don't know. So I don't know. Anyway, if you know the background of that Hinckley community, then you know why I'm obsessed about water and documenting the testing, because that's what happened. And but I do suggest, you know, watch that movie, Aaron Brockovich. Very good, interesting story. It's a good story and a true story. And it has Julia Roberts, and she does, you know, usually I'm not really a fan of hers, except for like that Pretty Woman movie, but like you know, her acting's okay. You know, she's an okay actor and everything. But in this movie, her acting is good. I like her acting. She, you know, plays. It's a true story movie. You know, so she plays a part of just a regular, struggling single. You know, working mother that's struggling with children without a father at the home. So that's a good story, and I suggest you guys watch it. You know, you might think, well, it's kind of been 10 or 20 years old now, but it's still a good movie, and you know, it's worth knowing what happened to the people out there. So I'd suggest people who haven't seen the movie, heard about it in the past, just really passed on it, check the movie out. It's a good movie, and it's good to know what happened to those people, so there's a record of it, because they want to cover it all up, and they want people to be bought out, sold out, and then they're going to put in solar panels and cover the whole community. They bought the school, they bought, you know, they shut the community down, they're building a freeway across it. So, you know, there's a lot of people that are hurt. You know, the community is a body of people. Been there for over 100 years, some of them. Like my in-laws been out there for 100 years, you know. It's a long time for a family to break out over water, you know, over water. Negligence of a company, you know, to make sure that there was lining, you know, in these ponds, because they dumped the chromium into these ponds or whatnot, these areas, and they did not line it with anything. They shouldn't have dumped it in the first place, but they didn't even have a lining, and they were doing it illegally. They were, you know, I don't think. Watch the movie, okay? I don't want to explain the whole movie. But it's a good movie, and I suggest you do if you're curious why I am so insistent that I record these water testings. And also look it up on YouTube searches. You'll find a lot of stuff about Hinckley, chromium-6, PG&E. Look up those type of you know, search with those kind of keywords, and you'll find the information you're looking for. You might even find some relatives, in-laws, or just people I know on there. I've got one cousin that was from there. He died just recently, and he's in a movie called Sky, where they filmed a lot of stuff out here in Barstow area too. He was actually had not just a extra, he actually had an actual working part in the movie. It was a small role. It's a motel scene. It's a small role in the movie, but he does have a role in the movie. It's funny because he recently passed away, but it's funny that to see him in that movie. That movie just came out this year, so you know. So check it out. It's a pretty good movie too. I think it might be based on true story too. Yeah. So anyway, it's at Love Clark, and now you know a little bit more why we are, concerned with our water. And I'm not just wearing a tinfoil hat to wear a tinfoil hat. There's a real legitimate reason that we are concerned, and it's because of PG&E and Hinckley community being poisoned. All right, so it's at Love Clark. Love you guys. Love.